Well, everyone, last night was a hotbed of activity for Rio de Janeiro that resulted in somewhere around 64 deaths, 81 arrests, hundreds of guns, and somewhere around half a ton of drugs being confiscated. It's all too apparent now, if it wasn't before, it's definitely apparent now that the ongoing battles to bring down cartels in Mexico and South America are still incredibly important. South America seems to be one of those foggy areas sometimes we don't know as well as Mexico, but this kind of brings it to the forefront a little bit here. Now, the numbers I'm talking about are likely to change. This all just happened yesterday on the 28th, and today's the 29th. I'm showing all of the clips I can here, too, that can be shown on YouTube. There are other graphic clips, but I don't think you want to see them because this video would get taken down, too, if I put them up anyways. So here's what happened. Somewhere around 2,500 police officers organized and moved in to arrest members of Brazil's oldest active cartel called Commando Vermelho, or what we know as here in America as the Red Command. This is the second largest cartel in Brazil next to First Capital Command. Now, each of these criminal organizations has territories that they dominate throughout Brazil. But Red Command tends to be found primarily, or at least most of their power, in Rio de Janeiro. As you probably already know, Brazil has had problems with their homicide rate for quite a while. It's been an issue. This is nothing surprising and nothing new. It has consistently had one of the higher homicide rates among all the countries of the world. The good news, as of today, though, since 2019, the homicide rate has dropped by low percentages each year. Now, this adds up to a marginal victory, but on paper, it is a victory nonetheless. But there's bad news. The bad news is that many people believe those numbers only declined because of a new breed of criminalization. According to InsideCrime.org, Brazil now has some of the highest levels of cybercrimes in Latin America. You see, cartels have found out that they can cut out the middleman now. They no longer need to threaten people to get what they want as much. That doesn't stop all of them, obviously, but it does stop some of them. Why bother threatening people, taking their lives, when you can save yourself the hassle and employ the latest AI technology and cyber gangs to exploit people's bank accounts? Still others are saying murder rates have declined due to the absorption of criminals by Colombia and Venezuela. Cocaine production hasn't slowed down, and it's not likely to slow down anytime in the future unless Trump gets what he wants. Thankfully, he's on the scene. But as of right now, it's still a fight being fought. Rival cartels murder each other. They need to fill their ranks with fresh members as they knock each other off. So sometimes these members are found across the borders. Regardless of any of this, the big picture still remains. Latin America in general still has huge problems with their homicide rates right across the board. And Rio de Janeiro here is no exception. Claudio Castro is the governor there, and he is trying to deal with this problem because the problem he has is absolutely huge. According to the statistics supplied by the popular news agency Brasil de Fato, and I think I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm not Brazilian, cartels and militia groups own and run around 60% of Rio. It seems that Castro wants to bring back law and order to the people. Is that such a bad thing? He stands behind the 2,500 police officers who went in. He won't be intimidated by cartel violence. But lo and behold, as always, and even in Brazil, there are those on the left who are infected with globalist nonsense, similar to what we see here in America, the defunding the police movement. Some of the far left in Rio are calling Castro the governor of massacres. The man who's trying to protect them is the governor of massacres. Here's Tay Ferreira. She's a two-time councilwoman who's involved in Rio's politics. She's claiming that Castro is committing genocide. He's bringing in the police and he's committing genocide. Claudio has turned Rio into an extermination laboratory for the black and poor population. This makes hyperbole cringe. Apparently, this isn't public safety for the enlightened class consciousness and pretentious bull you-know-what that is Che Ferreira. It's beyond ridiculous. And, I think we can all admit we're not experts in Brazilian politics. Just like most of you, I personally live here in the United States, and I get that it's difficult to deeply understand a world you don't genuinely live in. But we can all easily see the problem here. It doesn't take a microscope. Like most of the global left you see in other parts of the world and here as well, this woman blames law and order and accepts criminality. The cartels who are slaughtering thousands of black and brown people that she holds so dear, she's giving them a big hug. They're excused. The police, who might or might not have, because most likely they didn't, but if they did, they accidentally killed a marginal amount of black or brown people while trying to save the thousands of people around them from cartel violence. These police officers, they're fascists. They're not to be forgiven. How dare the police attempt to save its citizens? It's like a bad Greta Thunberg meme. I mean, just whose side is this woman on? Which leads us to an even bigger problem for Brazil. It's their president, President Lula. He opposes Castro too. He opposes the very governor who's trying to clean up one of his biggest and most important cities. Let's try to wrap our heads around this. Their own president won't help with cartels. He refuses to acknowledge the Red Command and other cartels as terrorist organizations. Much like in America, if he did, he would have access or the option of using an even deeper level of law enforcement. It would open up a new level of legal permissibility in operations, but nope. Access denied. Lula won't even send in any forces at all. He's just standing around claiming that, well, if Claudio is successful, we'll open up 10 prison spots for whomever he captures. 10 prison spots. Really? And listen to Lula speak, too. He sounds a lot like Claudia Sheinbaum. Listen to the way he wants to cover for violence in the name of territorial sovereignty. Sheinbaum calls it national sovereignty. He's calling it territorial sovereignty. Then this guy actually blames the people for the rise in drug dealers. Drug dealers are innocent victims. It's the people who bring them on. It's absolutely amazing. Take a look.
You can't just say, that you're going to invade, that you're going to fight drug trafficking in other countries, and you have to take into account the constitutions of other countries, the self-determination of peoples, and you have to go against the territorial sovereignty of each country. Every time we talk about fighting drugs, it would probably be easier for us to fight our addicts internally. The users. The users are responsible for the traffickers, who are, victims of the users too. In other words, you have an exchange of people who sell because there are people who buy, and people who buy because there are people who sell. So we need to be more careful in the fight against drugs.
Isn't it astounding? I mean, right there in front of our faces. It couldn't be more obvious that this guy is bought and paid for by the cartels. Brazil can't ask for help from the United States because, well, hey, that would violate territorial sovereignty. Brazil can't offer help to bring law and order to Colombia or Venezuela or to its very own city, Rio de Janeiro, because this would bring about lawlessness. Sending in the police would bring about an absence of law and order. That's his logic. And you know what? That's not logic. We all know he's just covering for the cartels because he's bought and paid for. The step he goes to next is just beyond me. I can't even imagine being insincere in saying this. According to Lula, the users of drugs are responsible for the traffickers. The traffickers are the victims of the users. I mean, honestly, how do the citizens of Brazil put up with this guy? This is such a blatant insult. If I were in Brazil right now, I'd be throwing stuff at my TV watching this guy. And the funny thing, he's echoing the words of Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico once again. She too blames drug users for creating the problems of drug traffickers. She too wants to hide her agenda under the cover of national sovereignty. It's like these cartel-run leftists are in concert with each other, mimicking talking points, and they're just running cover for each other and running cover for the most vile people in the process. All right, that's it for this one. Keeping it simple. I'm sure there's going to be more uncovered in the next few days. Numbers will change, but one thing is for sure, regardless of all that, the reality won't change. The reality is that leftism is a disease, no matter where you find it. Here in America, especially with some of our House reps, up in Canada with Trudeau and now Carney, down to Mexico with Obrador and now Sheinbaum, and down further into Brazil. The same talking points are being echoed. It's a willingness to accept criminality and hide it under talking points like national sovereignty and disparate impact. This lack of self-responsibility and disregard for freedom is the beginning of authoritarianism, not the other way around. All right, that is it. I hope you liked it. I hope if you left a comment or a like or anything, I do appreciate it. See you in my next one, everybody.